welcome back. Chapter 4. Norrell applied full makeup and slipped into one of her numerous lounging outfits. This one, a sea blue gauzy creation with a v-neck blouse and matching wide leg pants. She tried several looks with her just below the shoulder tresses, a flattering reddish gold color courtesy of a skilled beautician, before deciding that a upsweep worked best. It made the most of her impressive bust line. It was important that she look especially good tonight. She needed Vic's support now more than ever. She surveyed herself in the full-length oval standing mirror in her bedroom. She had to admit she looked pretty doggone good for 37. Hell, if it weren't for that space between her front teeth, she'd be flawless, at least on the outside. Sometimes Norrell could hardly believe the changes that had occurred in her life. Less than 2 years before, she'd been struggling to pay her bills, 2 steps ahead of collection, and now she presided over a spacious villa near the intercoastal waterway, with nothing much to worry about other than looking good for her husband when he came home from work. Keeping the house clean didn't take much effort. They had a maid service come in every other week, and since neither she nor Vic were particularly messy people, it usually stayed neat between visits. She transcribed part-time in the afternoons between 1:30 and 5:30. Norrell didn't really have to work, but it gave her something to do. Between her work, her gardening, and her domestic responsibilities, Norrell managed to stay busy. Having no financial burdens was a marvelous state of affairs, but an emptiness gnawed at her incessantly, and it became strongest whenever she got close to the beautifully decorated bedroom Vic kept for his 2 teenage daughters. Norrell had been told by her gynecologist years before that she would have a difficult time conceiving because her uterus was extremely tilted. She hadn't worried too much about it at the time. She only been 21, and back then having children was a plan for the distant future. Later, while working night and day to pay her bills, she hadn't even had time to date, and she chalked up the idea of having a family of her own as simply not meant for her. She even mentioned that she would probably not be having children to an examiner at the women's clinic where she went for her health care, and the woman promptly suggested that she consider a hysterectomy. It could prevent the possibility of reproductive organ malignancy developing in the future, she said. It made sense because of a Norrell's family history. Both her parents had succumbed to cancer at relatively young ages, but it had also been a turning point, for at that precise moment, Norrell realized she wasn't ready to give up hope. After she married Vic, she was glad she hadn't. It looked like all her dreams were going to come true, even though it was a tad late. But as the months went by and her period showed up every 4 weeks, just like the full moon, Norrell found herself growing more and more anxious. The words she heard so many years ago came back, but she was no longer 21. With her entire adulthood still in front of her, she was 37 and thinking about things like retirement saving and how to avoid osteoporosis. Vic arrived home a shade before 7:30. He usually left the house in the morning a few minutes before 9, arriving at his bail bonds office in time to receive the anxious friends and family of prisoners whose bail amounts had been set at the 9 a.m. court session. Commuting later than most people helped him get back and forth without encountering the considerable traffic on the roads leading to and from the beaches area. He came up behind her in the kitchen, wrapped his arms around her waist, and planted a loud, wet kiss on the side of her neck. "That you, honey?" she said. She asked innocently. "It better be. What are you making?" "Steak. It's marinated. That's why it smells so good. The potatoes are in the microwave and the salad is in the fridge." She turned around and slipped her arms around his neck. As she kissed his mouth, Vic grabbed her buttocks, pulling her into his groin. I see you brought me a little something, she said, wiggling her hips into his erection. When do I get it? Vic chuckled deep in his throat. Not now. I gotta eat first. Norrell had a spark in her step as she lit the candles on the table. Vic Bellamy might be 50 years old, but he was a fabulous lover who could leave her exhausted and drenched in sweat. Her reproductive equipment might not work properly, but there was nothing wrong with the part of her that reached sexual gratification. I had a doctor's appointment today, she remarked as they ate. She had decorated the table with inexpensive fresh flowers, black-eyed Susans, and violets from Walmart. She hesitated, lighting candles, fearing that would be overkill before going ahead with it. Oh, anything wrong? No, I went to see the infertility specialist. I told you about it. The fact that he forgotten couldn't be taken as a good sign, but Norrell wasn't surprised. Vic already had 3 children and didn't seem too eager to start a second family, even though before they got married, he said they could start trying after 6 months. She sensed his experienced secret relief as each subsequent month proved no baby was on the way. Oh yeah, I remember now. So what'd he say? He wants to do some tests. He thinks it's something more than just a tilted uterus, and he wants to determine if there's any damage to my tubes. While I was there, he told me about different options we can consider. He also wants you to come in. Me? What for? To test your, little squiggies? Vic put down his wine glass. There's nothing wrong with my sperm count, Norrell. I have 3 children, remember? Yes, a 26-year-old son and 2 teenage daughters. He wants to test you because it's been so long since you fathered a child, even though he says he's pretty sure the problem is all with me, she added quickly. Yeah, well, if he's so sure, let him treat you and leave me out of it. Norrell chose her words carefully on what was a delicate topic. She knew the ability to make babies was as important, if not more important, to a man as the ability to conceive and carry was to a woman. And to have that ability questioned was like questioning his manhood. It's purely a precautionary measure, Vic. It would be a waste of time to treat me if it turns out there's something wrong with you. It's unlikely, but not impossible. So what am I supposed to do? Go down to his office and jack off in a cup? I wish you wouldn't be so crash about it. This is important to me, Vic. Why don't you think about it for a while? But don't take too long, she silently implored. While the physician pointed out that 37 was much better than 38, which in turn was much better than 39, he had stressed that time was not on her side. She decided the topic had been discussed sufficiently for one evening. How was work today? She asked to change the subject. After dinner, Norrell relaxed in the living room with a book while Vic watched TV. A jangling phone suddenly broke into the relative quiet. She put a hand on the receiver and waited, as was her habit, for it to ring 2 complete times before picking it up. Hello? Norrell, it's Dana. Hi, what's up? I called so you can wish me luck. I'm going to the bank tomorrow. Brittany's friend's father is branch manager at the same bank where I have my mortgage. So I figure I'll start with him, see if he can influence the loan officer in my favor. Dana paused. But there's something else I need to talk to you about. Okay, what's that? The commercial that had been playing ended, and Norrell caught sight of Vic gesturing at her to keep quiet so he can watch the program. Hold on, Dana. I'm going to switch phones. When she was settled in the master bedroom, she resumed the conversation. Sorry about that. Vic's really into some documentary about Alcatraz prison. It's the bail bondsman in him, I guess. What's on your mind? Well, I want to know if you'll be Brittany's guardian in case anything happens to me. Norrell's mouth dropped open. Dana, I thought you were going to ask me to go with you to the bank for moral support or something. This is serious. Yes, it is. If anything happens to me, Brittany will have no one. I guess I shouldn't write off Kenny's parents, but they live in a different country. They're older, and they've had their hearts broken by the fate of their two sons. Brittany will be a lot happier here in Jacksonville, and of course, Cece already has a huge family. I'd be happy to take care of her, Dana. Norrell, not so fast. Think about it. Talk to Vic. I'd also like you to be executor. I'm going to put that as a word. Executric. Never seen that word before. Of my estate. I'm putting in a clause saying that Brittany won't have full control over whatever money there is until she's 30. So if I die before that, you'd have to make the determination about what she should get and when. I don't want her selling a house and blowing the proceeds on silly things like clothes and cars. Norrell found Dana's planning impressive. She reasoned it was all part of being a responsible parent. Hopefully one day she, too, would have a child to look out for. You're really getting your house in order, aren't you? Setting up a business, looking for a renter, and now Brittany's guardianship? You'd be surprised at what comes to mind when you've been forbidden to put any stress on your right hand. I wish I thought of trying to rent that room last year instead of wishing the building didn't exist. Any luck yet finding a tenant? No, but the semester is just about over. I might have to wait until the kids come back in August, unless I can find someone who's taking summer classes. Dana yawned. Excuse me. Sounds like you better get a good night's sleep. You've got a big day tomorrow. I can't go to bed. I'm getting ready to mow the lawn. Well, Brittany has to help me push the mower because of my hand. But Dana, it's after 8 o'clock. It'll be dark soon. That's the best time. When the sun's gone in and it's still light. It's much cooler. Once again, Norrell found herself at a loss for words. Before Dana cut her hand, she had literally worked from sunup to sundown. Even now, she spent most of her time assembling a business plan, struggling to peck at the keyboards with only her left hand. Norrell suddenly felt guilty for the easy life that allowed her to work just part-time and fill the rest of the days with light housework, books, old movies on the classic movie channel, and gardening. After dinner, each night she relaxed with her husband until it was time to go to bed, while poor Dana was outside pushing the lawnmower. Suddenly embarrassed, she changed the subject. Did you want me to sign something to make your wishes official? Now that anything is going to happen. Not that anything is going to happen to you, Dana. Dana chuckled. Thanks for your optimism. Sometimes I feel like I won't last another 5 minutes. And yes, it does need to be official. I've got a software program that helps complete simple legal documents. I'll get the form printed out and we can bring it to the bank and have our signatures notarized. But I mean it when I say, think about it, Norrell. Vic, too. Vic won't mind. He's okay with older kids, like his daughters. It's babies he objects to. A note of bitterness crept into Norrell's voice. Do you want to talk about it? No, Norrell said quickly. Dana had enough problems. She didn't need to be burdened with someone else. Just a temporary roadblock. We'll get past it. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 5. Okay, so what I got out of this chapter is Vic don't want a baby, but she do. And why Dana so, why did she ask her to take care of her? She only hurt her left hand. She ain't gonna die from that, right? That's a little suspect. And let's see, anything else? There was nothing else. I guess the story is still building. We got a lot of chapters to go. All right, so there was one word that I did not know how to pronounce, and I don't know the definition. So hold for the definition video. Okay, and I'm back. The word I couldn't pronounce is spelled Executrix, and it's a noun, and it's a female executor of a will. Okay, and here's how it's pronounced.
Executrix.
Oh, executrix. One more time.
Executrix.
Okay, executrix. Okay, well, that's all I have for this chapter, and I shall see you in chapter 5. Bye.